Tonight we're going to be focusing on the song Fresh Wind by Hillsong. And I actually want to go a different direction than I normally do for my song tutorials. Normally we do a lot of mixed voice exercises and extensive work with modified vowels and mouth shape and exercise to lyric strategies to help you hit the notes that you struggle with. But we're not going to focus on that today, partly because I give you all those strategies in my courses, and I know many of you are going through those courses. It's really important that you go through those lessons and study those techniques, finesse those techniques in your voice, because I want you to be able to apply those things to whatever song you're singing, right? So your voice eventually learns new muscle memory that starts to instinctively happen in all your songs. That's the dream. That's the goal, right? But also, I want to take this lesson in a different direction because, yes, in the long term, building the new muscle memory, working out the mixed voice techniques, that is what we need as worship team singers in a contemporary context. But in the short term, there's something more important than that. Yes, it's true. So don't leave. Don't shut off the lesson, okay? Because I know you're thinking, what could possibly be more important than expanding my range and working on my mixed voice? But yes, there is something more important. And that is knowing your voice, knowing your sweet spot, having an awareness of where your voice sounds and feels best in its current state at your current skill level, right? That's what actually matters most for this Sunday, for next Monday, for next Sunday, for next month when you lead. And not only that, but if you lead a team, how many of you guys are worship directors, vocal directors, worship pastors? Awesome. If you lead a team, if you're the one assigning songs and harmony parts, you need to know this stuff about every vocalist on your team, right? I have 3 lessons. How many have gone through Master Your Voice or are going through it? A bunch of you, awesome. I have 3 lessons in that course that go into this stuff in depth, finding your sweet spot, identifying your natural tone, and playing to your strengths. I think that they're some of the most important lessons I've ever taught because it's the thing that nobody thinks they need, but it's actually the thing you need most. And nobody really taught me this. So I kind of struggled through for years just learning to embrace my voice and learning to know my voice. And this is what I want for you. I want you to find home for your voice. I want you to find your sweet spot, okay? And what is that, you ask? Well, if you play tennis, then I'm sure you know this. I don't play tennis, but this is something I learned as I was putting those lessons together, that there is an area on a racket where it makes most effective contact with the ball, okay? Did you know that? It's called the sweet spot. I'm not making this up, okay? And this is not to scale, but this is our sweet spot, okay? Makes most effective contact with the ball. And there's also what's called a dead spot, okay? A dead spot on a tennis racket. And like I said, I don't play tennis, but that just sounds like not what you want. But there's this optimal place, this sweet spot that you want to aim for whenever you hit the ball. And I want you to start applying this concept, this perspective to your voice. Where do you sing most effectively? Where do you sound best? Start looking at your voice according to your strengths and not your weaknesses. How many know it can be so easy to focus on the things that we can't do well, right? It's really, really, really easy to focus on that. So tempting. The things we want to be better at. And I'm not saying don't ever think about those things. Of course, we want to better our voice. That's what my lessons are for. But it's not fair to ourselves if we only look at that, right? And if you're in charge of assigning songs or assigning harmony parts on your team, I want you to start looking at vocalists according to their strengths, not their weaknesses. Know their sweet spots and give people songs and parts and keys that set them up to win, not to fail. I know there was a big conversation in the Worship Vocalist, the online community a few days ago, a couple weeks ago maybe, now about just this struggle with, being given a key to sing in that didn't fit her voice at all. And I know so many of you could relate to that, and I can relate to that in the past too. It's challenging, right? And these days, co-led songs led by a male and female worship leader are super common on worship recordings, right? Love that. Hillsong Bethel. I'm loving Who Listens to Maverick City. I'm loving all the co-led Maverick songs that are being released. There are, of course, a lot of the duos who've been around a long time, still making great music. Carrie and Cody Carnes, Brian and Katie Torwalt, Jonathan and Melissa Helser. How many still love listening to the old All Sons and Daughters? Great are you, Lord. Such great songs. And here's the thing. You can take any worship song and make it into a male-female co-lead, even if it's not done like that on the recording, right? But here's also the thing. A co-led song, and Fresh Wind is no exception, that's the song we're going to be focusing on tonight, it lives or dies off of the arrangement that you choose. Who's singing melody, who's singing harmony, where does that happen throughout the song? And more specifically, it lives or dies off of having vocalists sing where they sound best. There is 0 point in mimicking the co-lead arrangement from the Hillsong recording if you or your singers don't sing well in those same ranges, right? Can we say dead spot, right? No good. And you know me, I often say, choose a different key, which I'm a big fan of singing in the key that's best for your voice. That's a simple option, a great option, especially if you're going with one worship leader singing the melody for the whole song. The original Hillsong key of Fresh Wind is C, but you go ahead and move it higher or lower, depending on where the song sits best in your range. For a female-only lead, D is a better option for most girls. For a male-only lead, I would probably try the key of G. But what I want to show you in this lesson is that there are so many co-lead arrangement options of a song like Fresh Wind, even just in the one key of C. And it's so important that you work with the sweet spot, the optimal range of your voice and the voices of the singers that you have on your team, okay? And just so you know, we're using Fresh Wind as our example song today, but you can apply these same concepts to any song that you want to do as a co-lead arrangement. It can be male-female co-lead, it can be female-female co-lead, it can be male-male. The same basic framework and perspectives will apply, okay? And I'm going to kind of breeze through this. So if you have questions, post them in the comments. I can answer later. But I think one foundational thing that's really important that we understand is the most common voice types we find on a contemporary worship team. Okay, so we're going to talk first about females. If you are a female singer with a well-developed, balanced mixed voice, meaning you can sing the lows, highs, and everything in between, well, amazing. You're going to do great with a song like Fresh Wind and probably most songs, so there's not too much to talk about here. You're going to be able to sing basically any of the melodies or harmonies in this song. And I realize for those of you doing this training with me live on Zoom, especially if you're watching this on your phone, the writing is going to look really small. So take in what you can, maybe take some notes as I talk about things. But if you're watching the replay of this training on the site, make sure you download the PDF because that will be a lot easier for you to follow along. I'll have this will all be laid out, okay? But anyways, this song, in terms of where it sits in the female range, won't be a struggle for you. Depending on how much you worked on your mix and how high you feel super comfortable singing, you may or may not want to jump to the super high melody up the octave in the final chorus, like we hear Taya do on specifically the Fresh Wind, What a Beautiful Name recording. Have you guys heard that? The other one is a studio recording. Meaning we need a fresh wind, the fragrance, like way up there. She jumps super, super high for that one. You may or may not want to do that. You might be strong up there. If so, go for it. If you are a chest voice dominant female singer who's still working on your mixed voice, which I know is a lot of you, you're still working on your high range, you're also in luck because a song like Fresh Wind in the Key of C is going to be your jam. You're going to sound great singing basically all the melodies and the mid-range harmony parts. What do I mean by chest voice dominant? I mean your strength is your chest voice. You've got that full rich tone in the low mid-range. We need a fresh wind, the fragrance of heaven, pour your spirit out, right? We've got that richer tone that sits in the mouth. But you probably still struggle with being able to carry that same tonal quality up above your transition spot, which is right around the A, B flat, B for girls. But the beautiful thing about this song in particular, in the key of C, is that the melody all stays below that. So the only part you probably struggle with is, again, kind of those really high parts that Taya does at the end of the song, that jumping way up to the chorus, or the harmony and let all the redeemed prophesy and sing, we can hear. That high part, if you're a chest dominant female, that's the part that's going to go above your transition spot. So you may struggle with that. But guess what? You can just choose not to sing those super high parts. I recommend for you sticking with an arrangement where you stay on the melody, or even some lower harmonies if you want to work that into the arrangement. Sing where you sound best. Really, really important. Stay away from the dead spots. If it's flipping into your head voice up there, stay away from it, right? If you are, I know I'm breezing through this, so again, if you have questions, post them in the comments. If you are currently a head voice dominant female singer who is working on your low range and your mixed voice, there's a bit more to think about in a song like Fresh Wind, because the things that are a chest dominant singer's jam are not going to be your jam. Okay, and what do I mean by head voice dominant? I mean your strength is your head voice. You may have come out of a classically trained background or just picked up a habit of singing in your head voice. Either way, your voice probably tends to bottom out the lower you go, but it gets stronger when you get closer to your transition spot, when you get closer to kind of right around that G-A spot above middle C, and as you go higher. So in the verse and chorus here, the melody, the verse and chorus melody, that's not going to be your strength if you're head dominant, okay? Because it sits well below the female transition spot. So this might be kind of how it sounds. Spirit sound, rushing wind, fire of God, fall within, Holy Ghost, breathe on us, we pray, right? Kind of hear how I'm going sharp there. It's kind of bottoming out. We need a fresh wind, the fragrance of heaven. See how it doesn't have that same kind of fullness in the tone because I'm carrying my head voice down. And it's not necessarily that you can't hit those pitches. So this can kind of, sometimes we're not always aware of this in our voices, because it's not that you can't hit those pitches. It's just that they tend to sound weaker and they don't have that rich quality that chest voice brings. The greatest strengths for you in this song, though, are going to be the bridge melody. singing the bridge melody and the high harmony parts, because that's most likely where you're going to be able to get more clarity, more strength in your tone. So up on let all the redeemed prophesy and sing, we can hear the wind, and even let all the redeemed prophesy. I'm in my head voice, which isn't how I would normally sing because I'm more chest voice dominant, but you probably get more clarity up there. Let all the redeemed prophesy and sing, we, because head voice has a lot of release up there. Is this making sense? Yeah, okay. And somewhat of a strength for you, this is why it's in brackets, somewhat of a strength will be the verse and chorus harmonies that sit above the melody. So that would be spirit sound, rushing wind, fire of God fall within. We need a fresh wind, the fragrance of heaven, pour your spirit out. Kind of when it goes up a little bit higher there, but not as much as the higher parts for you. Okay. Hopefully this is making sense. I know it's a little complex. You may need to go back through this training again and make sure to ask questions if you have them. But honestly, once you start understanding this stuff, it's going to help you as a worship leader and a worship pastor so much. For contemporary worship, the traditional tenor, alto, soprano labels are not really all that helpful in the way that people tend to just throw them out there. Okay. Sure, in a way they can still apply, but we have to go further than that and actually start to understand these specific tonal qualities that we're working with in our voice and on our worship teams, right? So plus, I think that those terms box people in way too much. If I constantly call you an alto, I am speaking you right into a box of singing low that you don't have to stay in. I was called an alto for years and years and years, and I was just like, well, I only sing low. I only sing the alto harmonies, and that's kind of where I stayed. So I've known a lot of so-called altos who have expanded their high range so much through the mixed voice techniques that I teach, and guys who thought they could only sing low notes sing high tenor notes. For real, you can train your voice to do things you never thought you could. So let's talk a little bit about the guys. Now, if you're a male with a well-developed, balanced sounding mixed voice, meaning you can easily go up through your transition spot, which for a guy sits in a different place than a female. It sits right around the D, E flat, E, above middle C. A song like Fresh Wind in the key of C is perfect for you. Probably not too much that you struggle with here. The only thing you're going to need to decide is for the bridge, whether you jump up to the high melody, like we hear the male on the recording doing, which goes to the A. Let all the redeemed prophesy and sing. And that all depends on how easily your voice goes up to your second transition spot, which is the A, B flat, B. I've helped a lot of guys develop a fantastic mix that can easily sing Fs and F sharps. And that next thing they're working to conquer is the few steps higher, right? That A note is more challenging because it's the second transition spot, but that's a lesson for another time. But which leads into, let's talk next about head voice, dominant male vocalist, which is definitely more rare. But if you've come out of a more classically trained background, or you naturally have a lighter, brighter tone, you may find it easier to sing in your higher range, but struggle to hit lower notes, which is going to be an obstacle for many other songs. But for a song like Fresh Wind, key of C, you're in luck, because basically all the parts, the verse, chorus, and bridge melodies, if we're talking about what we hear on the original recording, that's going to be your jam, because they all sit fairly high in the male range in the octave that the Hillsong male vocalist sings them, right? So, spirit sound, rushing wind, fire of God, da 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 da, pour your spirit out. If you're a guy who has a head voice developed up there, that's going to be no problem. Let all the redeemed prophesy and sing. And I wish I had a guy on here. One of my male coaches will have him, somebody sing this for you sometime, so you could hear that in the male voice. But that's pretty simple for somebody who has head voice. So there's not really going to be a struggle here for you because everything sits fairly high in the male range. So I just put not applicable. On the other end of the spectrum, if you are a chest voice dominant singer, male singer, still working up building your mix and your higher range, your strength won't be the chorus or bridge melodies because they both go above the male transition spot. So this is what it will probably sound like for you. We need a fresh wind, the fragrance of heaven, pour. It's gonna go flat. You're gonna be pushing up your chest voice up there. The bridge is either gonna be pushing up like crazy, let all the redeemed or you're gonna let all the redeemed prophesy, or you're gonna be flipping to your head voice. But you're most likely going to be fine with the verse melody, which stays under the male transition spot. Da 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 da. And you would also do well with a lower chorus harmony. Or you could sing the bridge. You could sing the melody down low. You could sing a lower bridge harmony. We don't necessarily hear those on the recordings, but they're all fair game if that's where your voice sits best. So something like, if I play, I'll try playing the melody on the piano, but I'll sing what you might sing. So we need a fresh wind, the fragrance of heaven, pour your spirit out, pour your spirit out. Again, this is for a chest dominant male. You could sing the bridge melody, like I said, down the octave, let all the redeemed, instead of, right? So you want to cater to where your range sits best and put it a little bit lower. And if you're looking at all this and you're thinking, this is complex, how does she know what I'll be able to sing and not sing? And sure, now it's all laid out for this specific song, but what about for a different song? What am I going to do? Well, this is where a basic grasp of music theory and being able to plunk out notes on a keyboard will come in really, really handy. And I know for a lot of you, you probably have access to someone who can, or you do actually have those skills already, but maybe you had no idea you could figure out how to hand out song arrangement parts or choose a part for yourself to sing based on the pitches. Well, the good news is you can. Okay, the first step is to know which of these categories you or another singer falls into, which if you need help with that, I encourage you to submit and analyze my voice to get my feedback or book an online session with myself or one of the coaches I've trained. We're here to help. For a female, if you are, or if they are chest dominant, the main thing to know is that they're going to be most comfortable and on pitch singing on the G or A note above middle C or below. Okay, kind of that G, A note range above middle C and below. And it's not just about them feeling comfortable. They're going to sound best there because that's the sweet spot for the tonal quality that comes most naturally to them, right? That's where the ceiling for chest voice is at that A. So if they're dominant in their chest voice, that's where they're going to sound best. If they're a head voice dominant, female, they'll be most comfortable and sound best singing at around those G, A notes and higher. Okay, so chest dominant, lower than that, head dominant, higher than that. For a male, if they're chest dominant, they're going to be most comfortable and sound best singing on the D, above middle C, or below that. Okay, and again, that's because that's where the chest voice for the male comes to a ceiling. So chest dominant males, they're going to be comfortable singing at the D and below. Head dominant, they'll be most comfortable at that D and higher. And this is all very generalized. Every individual vocalist has a slightly different range and skill level, so it is going to differ, but they're pretty safe and proven generalizations, I would say, from the many, many, many singers I've worked with and listened to. But let's apply this, okay? Because I want you to kind of see this applied. Let's say you have a chest dominant female and a chest dominant male, and you want them to lead the song together. This is very typical on a worship team. How would we arrange this? First, I want to show you why it doesn't work well to just follow an arrangement that you find on a recording. Okay, so again, we've got chest dominant male, chest dominant female. This is the Hillsong arrangement. This is the Fresh Wind, What a Beautiful Name version with Taya and David. So what I've written here is what they sing, and you'll see I've plotted out for you based on the chart that we made. The red are the parts where our chest dominant male and chest dominant female are going to sound great because it's in their sweet spot. The blue are the dead spots, okay? That's where the dead spots are going to happen if they follow the arrangement on the recording, okay? So first one, we've got the male melody, which remember for chest dominant male, he's going to sound great singing there because it sits below his transition spot. Chorus, male melody, it goes up higher. It goes to the E and F above middle C. That's above where he feels great. So there's going to be a dead spot. But the female melody for a chest dominant female, that's going to sound great right there. Verse 2 starts with female melody. Again, that's da 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 da. Great for a chest dominant female. Halfway through switches to male melody, and female jumps a little bit higher to the mid-range harmony. Sound great there. Chorus, again, another dead spot for the male, but the female is still in her sweet spot. Bridge starts with the female melody. That's right, that's just at the female transition spot and below, so she's gonna feel good there. But then it switches to the male high melody and female high harmony. Da, 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 da. Goes into the final chorus, and they're both just out of their element. The male singing high up above his transition spot, the female singing high above her chest voice transition spot. And so you see, some of these parts will work well to keep them the same, but a lot of them don't. And as we get into the biggest, most dynamic parts of the song, we're hitting dead spots like crazy, right? Is this making sense? Okay, so let's try something different. Same two singers, okay? Still got our chest dominant male, chest dominant female, but we're gonna switch it up from what we hear on the recording. We're gonna have verse 1, we'll keep the male singing that because that's below his transition spot. Chorus, the female is gonna take over completely from the male because that's where she sounds best, he doesn't sound best. Verse 2, we're gonna have the female melody start there, switch to the male melody, female mid-range harmony. Again, they're all, the male is sitting here, that feels good for him. Da 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 da. For the female, she feels good there. Chorus, female melody. The male, you don't hear this on the track, but he's going to go down to a low harmony. So she's going to be, we need a fresh wind. And he can be, we need a fresh wind. The fragrance of heaven, pour your spirit out, pour your spirit out. Bridge, start with a female melody, like it is in the track. And then we're going to add a male lower harmony. So if she's singing, let all the redeemed, he can sing, let all the redeemed prophesy and sing. He can sing there, because again, that's going to sit below that kind of middle C area for him. And so everything is sitting in these singers' sweet spots. Amazing. Now, let's just be realistic and honest here. This arrangement is not going to sound as epic as that Hillsong recording. But guess what's also not going to sound epic? These two chest dominant singers trying to mimic what's on that recording, and their voices not being able to do that comfortably and effectively. I promise you, in these blue spots, these dead spots, they're going to be singing off pitch. The high notes are probably going to go flat. They're probably going to be flipping into head voice at times. Their voices are going to be cracking. They're going to feel strain. You're going to feel tired after the service, after you sing this. And how many know when you're out of your sweet spot zone, you don't feel confident. You don't feel great singing that. So you're hesitant as you sing into the mic, and that often makes things go worse. And that's going to negatively affect the worship set, right? But I promise you, put vocalists where they sing best, and you will get the best sound that you possibly can with the team you have, and you will produce the most confident leaders. Because when you feel good singing, you feel comfortable singing, you sing better, you're more confident, then you're going to be more confident next time and the next time and the next one, and it's going to produce the most confident leaders on your team. Let's try one more quick arrangement idea, because it's not always going to be chest dominant on a team, okay? Now we're going to pretend that we have a male with a balanced mix. He's been working. He doesn't necessarily have all the natural talent in the world, but he's been working on developing his mix. He's not head dominant, not chest dominant. If he's typical male, he probably came out of being chest dominant, but now his tone is a lot more balanced. He doesn't feel totally comfortable and stable going up to his second transition spot. But the first transition spot, remember that D, E flat, E above middle C, has become totally manageable for him. Sounds great in his voice. And we're going to pair him with a head voice dominant female. Okay? So more comfortable, sings in her head voice more. So let's again take a look at the Hillsong arrangement and see what happens if they just try mimicking this. Male melody, he's going to feel great there because he's developed his mix. He can go right into the chorus like on the recording, which goes to the E and F, but he's developed that in his voice. He can sing that in a mix, no problem. But if the female is joining in on the melody here with him, she's going to be, we need a fresh wind. The fragrance of heaven, pour your spirit out, pour your spirit out. It's not going to blend well with him. It's probably going to go pitchy. Her voice is going sharp. Going into verse 2, she is really out of her element here, right? Verse 2 is, for hearts that burn with holy fear, purified in faith and deed, refiner's fire, strengthen what remains. Right? I can't even hit that in my head voice. So she's out of her element there. When they switch halfway through, everybody's feeling pretty comfortable. but we've just come through that rough spot. Chorus, that's going to work pretty well. Again, the male's on the melody, the female's getting a little bit higher there, so she feels better. Bridge, because it goes up higher, let all the redeemed, she's getting more into her element. But then when we switch to the male singing the high melody, he's, like I demonstrated before, he's probably going to be pushing up, let all the redeemed, or let all, and going really soft there. And that's a big part of the song. So we don't want that. Dynamically, we need that to lift. The chorus, the final chorus, they are going to be more in their sweet spot there because the male is going to jump to the melody. The female, head voice dominant female, is going to feel a lot better way up there. So again, we see some things work, but others don't. More of in this arrangement, there's more that works because one of our vocalists has developed a strong mixed voice, right? But still, if this pairing tried to sing the song this way, it's not going to be their best foot forward. So let's try something different. Same two vocalists, male melody. But basically, he's going to take everything that would sit lower in the female range because the head dominant female isn't going to be as comfortable. So he's gonna take the melody, verse 1, chorus, verse 2, add in the female mid-range harmony halfway through. Chorus, he's still on melody. Female continues with the harmony. The bridge, starting with the female melody, and then add in a male high harmony. So he's not going to jump to the melody at any time here. So the female's let all the redeemed, and the male can be let all the redeemed, somewhere right around there. Let all the redeemed prophesy and sing, right? I'm playing the melody on the piano, just, singing what the male would sing. And then the chorus, he's going to go back to the melody. We need a fresh wind. That female can go as high as she wants. So hopefully this is making sense. The bottom line is that we can't just say, wow, this is an amazing song. I've got a male and a female lead vocalist, so I can get them to co-lead the song exactly like the track. It doesn't work well that way, but guess what? That's what most people do. And it's usually just because you don't know any better. I know for years when I worship led, like when I started singing and worship leading, and even I was leading a team, I didn't even think to put something in a different key. I didn't even think to sing something different than the recording. You just kind of do what's there because there it is. And I've said it before, but about song keys, the vocalist on the recording didn't choose the song key based on what your voice can do. So why do you choose a song key based on what their voice can do? Well, Taya and David from Hillsong didn't choose their vocal arrangement based on what your singer's voices can do. So why do you choose your vocal arrangement based on what their voices can do? Okay? Think on that. And let's be clear, okay? The goal, find this other one here. The goal is still for every single one of you to work toward this, the balanced mixed voice, okay? The balanced, well-developed mixed voice, so that your voice can do more, so that you're not stuck in a box. But that's going to take time. Depending on your current skill level, that's going to take many months or longer of diligent work doing the right things, the right vocal exercises to get that result. So that's what we're aiming for long term, to get rid of the obstacles in the way of your voice doing whatever you want it to do. Because I'll be honest with you, as a vocal coach and from my experience in a worship pastoral role, You only being able to sing in your head voice is not ideal. You only being able to sing well in your chest voice, it's not ideal. It's your responsibility as a worship team vocalist to not just stay where you're at and say, meh, this is how I sing, take it or leave it. Worship pastor, please just arrange every song from now till the end of time so that it sits only where I sing best, right? That's pride. That's not okay. That's not being a good steward of what God has entrusted you with. Please, please, please commit to work on your voice, grow it, develop it, take your one talent and multiply it. And vocal directors, worship pastors, lead the way in this. Invest in your own voice. Show your team that you yourself are going after a new skill level and call them to a higher skill level too. I encourage you, sign your vocalists up for a worship vocalist team account, invest in them, and don't just, here you go, guys, I signed you up for this. Like, set some healthy expectations of them going through the lessons and workouts and check in on them. Okay. I am who I am today because I've had people calling me to a higher level, and it wasn't always comfortable or convenient, but I'm thankful for it. We don't always say that till years later, but it's true, right? So all that to say, the goal is for every vocalist to work towards this, the balanced mixed voice, developing more range, better tone, but don't be down on yourself or resent the vocalists on your team because your voices aren't there yet. There is absolutely a way to work with what you have and make songs sound, yes, amazing by this Sunday, even without a lot of vocal skill. It just means that you'll probably need to divvy up the melody and harmony parts differently from what you hear on the track, right? Other things to think about as you rehearse as a team, especially if you have more than just the two lead vocalists singing, there are more song mapping principles that you can employ. It's not enough that people just know how to sing harmony, but that they know the best times in the song to add harmony, whether to add it in low or high. That's important. I've got a video called When to Sing Harmony on a Worship Team you can check out. I also have a lesson in my harmony course called Achieving Vocal Blend. And it goes way beyond just song mapping. I teach you how to blend your tone, volume, vibrato, phrasing. These things are really important for vocal teams in general, but even more important in a co-leading song context, because more so than ever, both vocals are turned up to a higher volume, right? So with things like phrasing, it's really important to pay attention to matching each other in terms of when you come into your phrases, when you come out of them, being careful to not have a lot of hard consonants, a lot of like d or s into the microphone. I'm not teaching all those details right now because they are already in those other videos. Let me know how these strategies go for you. If you have any questions, just post them below. As always, I encourage you to check out my courses at theworshipvocalist.com. The most important thing you can do for your voice is to be exercising it consistently 3 to 5 times per week using specific strategic exercises that work out your chest, head, and pharyngeal resonators and train your voice to mix them together. I have hundreds of exercises that I've created for you, along with video demonstrations and downloadable audio workouts. So if you don't already have a Worship Vocalist subscription, make sure to check that out at theworshipvocalist.com.